Chairman. Bill, I want to start with clearance reform. I think you recall when we had the hearings, bipartisan complete agreement that the system is broken. It's 740,000 plus on the backlog. This is a security risk. This is an economic risk in terms of our ability to brief companies. I was very concerned that we invited all the relevant parties to testify. OMB chose not to. I would like you to give us an update on whether OMB is on the team now and trying to make this a priority. And we'd had some discussion that large number backlog, you were going to be able to cut a dramatic amount of that backlog back in a relatively short timeline. Can you give us an update on that?
Thank you, Vice Chairman Warner. Yes, as a matter of fact, I think subsequent to our beginning of this process back in March in our Trusted Workforce 2.0 initiative, with our partners, Office of Management and Budget, OPM and DOD, as well as a host of other organizations and departments, we have been working diligently to provide this committee and the government with two specific things. Number one, a dramatic reduction of the backlog, and number two, the development of a new business process of how we will vet qualified citizens in the U.S. in an agile, expeditious manner. At the same time, making sure they're trusted. With respect to your question on the backlog, we currently are in the final stages of a paper for the DNI to issue that's being coordinated through the intergovernment process right now, which I believe with some dramatic changes to how we currently do the business process of investigations, once implemented, will probably get us to a position we could estimate probably 20% reduction in the backlog within 6 months.
Only 20% in 6 months? That's a little less ambitious than I think we discussed earlier. And is OMB part of the process at this point?
OMB is a major part of the process. Again, the four main individuals are OMB, OPM, DOD, and ODNI.
Well, and will these new business processes include reciprocity and common standards between government and our contractors?
Yes, sir.
Well, again, my hope would be, since I understand a lot of these were on the secret level, on the DOD side, there was an ability to take, I thought, a much greater percentage of that backlog down with administrative action. And then on a going forward basis, I would hope that we would see a reduction greater than 20%. That would only take us down, if we move from 740,000 to 500,000, that still doesn't do very well if we're at the end of this calendar year.
Senator, I agree with you and concur. I think some of the contingencies will be predicated upon the transfer of the MBIB inventory to DOD and how that impacts the planned mitigation efforts. We do not have an effective algorithm for that at this moment, but we are excited that 20% is probably a conservative number.
On the question of counterintelligence with China, I was again, a number of members on this committee has raised concerns about certain of the Chinese telecom companies and their penetration into the American market. I was actually pleased the President acted on one of those companies, ZTE. Now it appears that that is simply a bargaining chip in negotiations with China. I don't think that is the appropriate way. If this is a security threat, it is a security threat and needs to be dealt with as such, not as a bargaining chip in terms of greater trade negotiations. My concern as well is that we are asking purchasers of equipment at local government, private sector, we're asking others who are in the venture community and others to understand the threat of China, but I don't believe we can fully brief that threat if they don't have appropriate security clearances within their own institutions. Again, another challenge that comes out of the backlog issue. How do we, how will we be able to move aggressively on having a standardized brief to universities, tech companies, VCs on the real threat of China? And will that brief, I think it would have to be some parts classified as well as unclassified. Do you want to address that?
Vice Chairman, I would concur, and I think over the last 2 years we've made a lot of progress with our interagency partners, the FBI and DHS, in promulgating such advice and awareness and threat to not only academia and industry with respect to the threat from China and other nation states who are pernicious in stealing our proprietary data and trade secrets. We will continue to do that and work with the associations, and I concur with your point that I think the private sector leadership at the CEO level needs to be a little bit more active in terms of obtaining security clearances so that that information that is classified can get to them in a more effective and efficient manner.